Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the TripleJump podcast. It's a video game podcast. My name is Ben.
My name is Peter.
And my name is Ashton.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
How are we today?
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah?
I love that because we have alternate busy Thursday and less busy Thursday.
Yeah.
And on busy Thursday, where we have After Dark to record today, we had just a real pain in there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. With this whole setup.
A whole 45 minutes of technical problems this morning before we
best day
even
for it to happen.
started. It's great.
So we're a
Busy
little bit
Thursday.
behind.
Yes.
And we've got lots of exciting things to talk about today. Thank you to, before I even thank our wonderful patrons normally, I'd like to thank our wonderful patrons for heeding our pleas in last week's episode. And we're going to be covering lots of contemporary news story stuff in the questions this week, which is very exciting.
Worked out very well.
It has indeed. But before we get there, we need to talk about the sponsor for this week's podcast. We get sponsored by a very real video game adjacent sponsor each and every week. You okay?
You're
What's
looking
up?
mischievous.
I'm just excited.
Okay.
It's just a good week.
Dead Island 2 the Spider.
Dead Island 2 the Spider is in our studio. I saw him yesterday.
Oh, is he?
Downstairs.
Has he gone
studio.
from the toilet into the studio?
Yeah.
Is he?
Wow.
Just above the worst games ever set up. He's just hanging out in the corner.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So exciting. Well, we
I
know
nearly
where
went
he
and
is.
got you, Ashton, to do a TikTok or something. I was like, let's do
He's
some
here.
content.
Quick,
It's so
film
exciting.
him.
Yeah.
Film the boy.
But then I couldn't be bothered.
The end.
Good.
Ashton, I
Yeah?
believe you have the ad read in front of you there.
I do. This week is quite an important week in the gaming sphere and in my personal sphere as well. Because as you guys know, Tis the Kingdom comes out this weekend. And also,
Yeah.
it's Eurovision,
It
which
is the
is
two biggest things.
my favourite day of the year. And for some reason, Nintendo have gone a bit niche with this kind of because they had to recognise that. Okay, yeah, Tears of the Kingdom's big worldwide, but so is Eurovision. And everyone cares about Eurovision the same as they care about the new Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom.
Just is exactly the same.
Exactly the same level
The
of
Venn
hype.
diagram is a circle.
It's a circle, exactly.
And
So
at least two of the countries involved are kingdoms. So
exactly.
Very true.
Yeah. So it's a bit of a weird one that they've gone for, but I guess they had to try and make it fit a little bit with their title, I guess. As you guys know,
Yes.
the UK entry, she's called May Muller.
That's it. I did
You
know
did know
that.
that?
Yeah. I sure
And
did.
so they've gone in support of her, and they've released the kind of the spin-off, like, Let's Go, May, with called Legend of Muller, Points for the Kingdom. In brackets,
Muller,
United.
United.
Yeah.
Okay, so Nintendo have decided to...
They're showing their support for their favourite entry, May Muller of the United Kingdom.
So
Yeah.
Japanese company Nintendo are
Yep.
officially backing the UK.
Well, they kind of had a bit of ground to make up for, given that, oh my God, there's a spider up there.
Oh, wow.
Dead
Yeah,
Island
about
2
now.
is up there. He's
There
up there.
actually is. He's in the studio. Everyone,
Oh, yeah.
calm down.
He's here.
Stay
He's
calm.
alive.
He's in the studio.
Sorry. What was I saying? Oh yeah, they had a bit of ground to make up for because you may remember that they announced this game the day after the Queen died.
Yeah,
So
which was
they were a bit like
a decision, an intentional decision.
yeah, they were like, oh, we've got a bit of making up to do
Whoops.
to the great nation of the United Kingdom.
Yes.
The weirdest country in the world. So they've decided to support May for Eurovision.
And what's it called again?
Legend of Muller,
Yeah.
that's in her surname, Points for the Kingdom,
Yeah.
in brackets, United.
Yes. So Muller
Sounds
sounds
like Zelda.
sounds a lot like Zelda,
Zelda.
of course,
Yeah.
which is the cleverest part.
Yeah.
It's a shame that Zelda's not the princess and is the little elf boy because, you know, if Zelda was a female character, then Muller would kind
Yeah,
of...
yeah.
That would also make more
Exactly,
sense.
yes.
Yeah.
And,
Unfortunately,
yeah.
Zelda's the boy.
Well,
Yeah,
it doesn't matter
so-
because it's not real.
Oh,
Oh, no.
beans.
They haven't tried to make up for their mistakes.
That's so annoying. However, the
Eurovision
Legend of
is real.
Zelda, Eurovision is real, yes, and the Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom is real and is out right now
Yeah.
when you're listening to this. It isn't at the time of recording, and therefore, unfortunately, it didn't make the cut for Review Corner this week. But we will be talking about it in
Next
detail
week.
next week for sure. You have our promises and words
Mm-hmm.
about it. No, we're not sponsored by that. We're sponsored by our very wonderful patrons over at patreon.com/Team Triple Jump, where for as little as $1 per month, you can submit submit questions to this podcast about the biggest news stories of the week and be potentially featured on the Flipping Podcast. There's loads of other tiers available as well, and we really, really appreciate your support. We know that it's a very tough time out there at the moment, and disposable income is very tight for a lot of people. So for those of you who are supporting us, just know that it means the world. So thank you.
Really
Thank you to all of you. Do we have a first question, Peter?
We do. It's from Bartek Kubica, who says, "Schnicked, Bap, what's your opinion about the words of Phil Spencer that he said on the Kind of Funny show? Are we witnessing changes, or did Phil just Don Matrick himself?" Matrick. Yeah, sorry, I got so confused by. Or does Phil?
Bartek is not a native
English
He's not.
speaker.
Of course, no. I know that. That's fine.
To be fair,
it's thrown
I
you
think
off.
my brain just auto-corrects things sometimes because I didn't notice that when I put the question. in.
Matrick sounds like a sort of silly pun that we would
Look
say.
at my trick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don
Stunts.
Matricked himself.
Or does Phil just Don Matricked himself?
Yes. Okay.
Yes, he does. Have a great day, Bartek the nerd.
Thank you, Bartek.
Thanks, Bartek. You
Thank you,
nerd.
Bartek.
You geek.
Nerd.
So I've got some context here. It's a bit of a write-up, but it is all useful, especially for those who don't know that this has happened.
And this broke just after we recorded the
Literally
podcast
just
last week when we were
after.
talking about Microsoft and what comes next and so on. Which is typical.
This was according to Eurogamer, I think. I did write it down, but not in the document. In a video interview with Kind of Funny Games, Spencer explained why he believes Bethesda's Starfield potentially being a superb game will do little to help turn things around for Xbox. Quote, "There is no world where Starfield is an 11 out of 10 and people start selling their PS5s. That's not going to happen. But why not, says the article. Why wouldn't great first-party games for Xbox move the needle? According to Spencer, Xbox's fate was sealed after it lost the last generation. We lost the worst generation to lose in the Xbox One generation, where everybody built their digital library of games," Spencer said. "We want our Xbox community to feel awesome, but this idea that if we just focused more on great games on our console, that somehow we're going to win the console race, doesn't relate to the reality of most people. Like 90% of the people every year who walk into a retailer like 90% of people every year who walk into a retailer to buy a console are already a member of one of the three ecosystems, and their digital library is there. This is the first generation where the big games they're playing were games that were available last gen. When you think about Fortnite and Roblox and Minecraft, the continuity from generation to generation is so strong." A little bit left here. "I see a lot of pundits out there who want to go back to the time when we all had cartridges and discs and every new generation was a clean slate and you could switch the whole console share. That's just not the world we're in today. We're not in the business of out-consoling Sony or out-consoling Nintendo," Spencer said, before admitting it has little chance of competing with its rivals. Lastly, he says, "There isn't really a great situation or win for us. And I know that it will upset a ton of people, but the truth of the matter is when you're third place in the console marketplace and the two top players are as strong as they are and have, in certain cases, very discrete focus on doing deals and other things that make being Xbox hard for us as a team, that's on us, not anybody else. Our vision is that everyone who's on a console has to feel... Our vision is that everybody who's on console has to feel like they have a great experience and they're a first-class citizen. They've invested a ton in our platform, and I see it out there. I see commentary that if you just build great games, everything would turn around. It's just not true that if we go off and build great games, all of a sudden, you're going to see a console share shift in some dramatic way." There you go. It was a 40-minute interview, but that is the main bits.
Some of the highlights.
I liked a bit where someone was trying to be positive, like, "Oh, well, you're still doing really good." And he was like, "I'm not in a positive mood.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to be positive."
I mean, to be fair,
and I was like,
they've taken a hell of a battering over the past couple of weeks with the what's the ASA
CMA.
stuff? CMA, that's it. ASA is stuff we're dealing with. Yeah, the CMA and Redfall and so on. There's a lot going on.
He introduced himself, or they introduced him in the interview and said, and it's Phil Spencer. Hey, how's it going? And he was like, "Well, I've had better 2 weeks.
I've had better weeks, yeah."
Yeah. What did you think, Peter?
Well, I mean, I was surprised. Firstly, it was quite sort of candid and not kind of self-flagellation as such, but it was just a very public, like, I don't know, it's hard to say how much of it was just is this the right PR thing to do, or is this like how he actually feels? I think like he must feel that way about the kind of the console share and market share, and the solutions moving forward, because they don't relate specifically to Redfall. Whereas the comments that he made about Redfall itself, you do have to wonder like how much of that was very carefully written by a team. They weren't included in there, but yeah, he sort of commented on where he thought it went wrong for Redfall. But it's kind of surprising. I also don't know if I agree with him. I mean, he's the one who's, in the industry and has risen to the top of the company and, should know better than certainly me what Xbox should or shouldn't do, or what any console company should be doing. But it just seems incorrect to me. From a personal standpoint, I feel that if there was a great library of games on Xbox that interested me particularly, I would be interested in buying an Xbox.
I only have a Series S for any exclusives that come out that I'm interested in.
Exactly.
So,
I mean, I would like to get Game Pass. That's a whole different part of the business model, of course. But, Game Pass I find is tempting. But if Game Pass didn't exist and there were a bunch of really cool exclusives coming out on Xbox, I would be tempted. So that's me. I don't know if I speak for the entire video game market and, all the other consumers, but I don't think it's a stretch to think that that's a fairly common kind of opinion for those who could afford to do so. I don't know if I could right now, but if you're in a position to buy a second console, maybe you would if you think that there's a great library of exclusives.
I agree. When I kind of felt the same way, in the sense of like, well, the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X are very similar in what they can do and how they run things. They're very, on paper, technically very similar. So the only reason people buy a PlayStation above they buy an Xbox is because either they've got the loyalty from the previous generation, which he's not wrong about. He lost that, and, that's fair enough. It does trickle down. But I also think that because the games that are on offer on PlayStation just like speak more, and also you can only play these games on PlayStation, where they've got Xbox Game Pass. You can play a lot of these Xbox exclusives on a PC without having to buy an Xbox. Like you say, you've got an Xbox Series S for the times you play an exclusive, but I don't imagine that's very often.
No, not really.
And so I do think that I don't necessarily agree with him. I think that he seems to think that, oh well, we can't do anything now. We've done it now. There's nothing we can do. Which, I mean, fair enough. Like you say, he is the expert. It's literally his job. But I do think that from an outsider perspective, from the general public, that I would say, well, I mean, you could have done more. And
just it reads slightly defeatist.
Yeah, it does a bit. But worries me. Yeah. But the one thing he did say, which I did appreciate, which isn't in your quotes, he said that they're basically, I don't know the quote exactly, but essentially that they're not forcing developers down a strict corridor of what they can and cannot make. They're letting them try new things. Like he was saying,
it's not working though, is it?
Well, he was saying about Tango making Hi-Fi Rush. They weren't going to force them to make the next
Evil Within.
Evil Within, thank you. When they wanted to make Hi-Fi Rush. So he was like, we're kind of letting them do their own thing. Same with Sea of Thieves as well. And he's like, these things do work, but sometimes they don't. And we have to take,
And that's
but
fair.
as a publisher, that is also your job to kind of say this is doesn't make business sense.
Do you need to have that approach with every studio? Like it's his job, but also it did feel, as you said, a bit defeatist, like he was falling on his sword, and that's got to be a tough pill to swallow if you're like an Xbox fan, because he basically said, "Yeah, well." Big exclusives aren't going to turn this around. It's like, well, then why did I buy an Xbox?
Yeah.
Why do you want to sell this? If you're not in the business of being in hardware, then why are you trying to compete in that space? Or why are you trying to... What would you say to someone who bought an Xbox Series X either because they're already in that ecosystem and they've got all their previous digital games, or that, hey, Xbox has Halo and Gears of War, and they bought Bethesda and they've got Starfield and they might be buying Activision. Like, what do you say to those people after you've said, well, if we make loads of good games, it's not going to turn this around? What?
You're right. It's the whole argument about hardware. Like, if you're not bothered about that, then why not just do some sort of Game Pass software and get it on PlayStation and Switch and PC.
Yeah.
Just like turn it into a service alone.
It's from that fact alone, like it's just fascinating because you never hear people in his position speak so candidly. I do think it would be foolhardy to believe that this wasn't run through several layers of PR before he went on and did this. But even so, I feel like it's almost some mixed messaging from Phil. And there's two schools of thought where either you're in the camp that we're sort of in, where you're like, why are you saying this stuff? You're sort of making it sound like Xbox isn't necessarily a desirable place for anyone to play games. Or like he's engendering some sympathy. Like, oh, it's nice to hear someone say it like it is.
Yeah.
It's like, well, he probably has a duty not to say it like it is. Like, there's a reason people in his position don't talk like that, and that's to convince their consumers that, like,
and their investors,
that things are okay. And this flies in the face of that. He did go on to say, to be fair, in the interview that like he believes that they're in a really strong position and going forwards, mapped out. They've got like several big tentpole releases that he
did
believes
hype
are
up the
going
showcase
to be
quite a lot.
Going to be good. So again, like we said last week, all eyes on the showcase. Like it isn't make or break. They'll be fine, but I do think it's really important. And also, he confirms what we talked about last week, which is that Starfield, cannot be an 11 out of 10. Like there was no world where it was going to be.
But
this,
he wasn't saying that it's not an
genre-defining.
11 out of 10. He's saying even if it is, it's not going to.
Yeah, there's no world where if it's
he didn't say
he
didn't say this game is not an 11 out of 10. He said
Okay.
if it is an 11 out of 10,
it's not
which is
gonna-
impossible because it can only be a 10, then mathematically speaking, it could never be an 11
But
out
I
of 10.
think that's quite telling in itself. That although
He's
that's not
setting
what he was saying, I
expectations.
think you're reading it right, Ben.
Yeah.
Deeper
Between
is
the
that, like,
lines.
Yeah.
Because we were saying in the previous podcast, like, all eyes on the showcase, all eyes on Starfield to kind of like pull this back a little bit for them.
Yeah.
And does he know? Maybe has he got some? Well, he must know how good
They have
Starfield is.
internal reviewers and stuff, don't they?
Has he sort of like thought this game isn't going to be the big turnaround that everyone's now talking about in the press?
Yeah.
Do I need to get out ahead of time, fight some fires before they even begin, and say, just so you know, it doesn't really matter whether it's really good and whether it turns things around for us, because that's not our plan.
Yeah, he didn't say, Starfield's a great game, and even though it's going to be great, it might not help us out in the long run. He didn't say that, to be fair.
No.
He did say, if
But
it's
that's
not...
what it sounds like to me.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like he's saying. It sounds like he's setting expectations for Starfield, obviously not being this world-beating, world-conquering game, which it shouldn't have to be.
No.
But it's almost been forced into this position. I'm going to play Starfield. I'm probably going to really like it. It's going to be really good fun. But will it score 10s across the board? I think that's unlikely.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. This is really weird. This whole situation
was
is
weird.
very bizarre.
And I do think, we kind of like glossed over it, but I was going to say the same thing as you, Ashton, which is that it slightly muddies the waters as well when you've got PC as a kind of side platform, as a bit of hardware when it comes to Microsoft. So they don't have, even when they've got their own quote unquote exclusives, they're not exclusives because you can play them on PC, and most people have a PC or at least a laptop that can, run.
You can cloud game on a pretty crappy laptop.
Exactly. So that's another reason potentially to not buy an Xbox. I'm really looking forward to Starfield, but I am just thinking, well, do I get an Xbox or do I just play it on PC? And I'm tempted to just play it on PC. So, that would be the kind of game that if it was purely an Xbox exclusive, I would probably buy an Xbox. But I don't have to because
it's probably going to come out on PC.
Yeah.
Well, it was very interesting regardless, and there's a lot of thoughts and opinions about it on the internet. So we want to hear yours. Let us know in the comments down below if you're an Xbox owner and you feel a bit spurned by it, or if you feel sort of a little bit of sympathy towards Phil there and the situation that he's been in. I do personally feel for the man. It must have been a very rough couple of weeks.
I don't. He's got loads of money.
Speaking, he can cry into his money, but he's still crying.
Yeah.
It'll be very interesting to see this showcase and the future of Xbox. I personally am rooting for them because why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
And I want to play great games on my Series S, and I want my purchase of an Xbox to be validated, like a lot of people, I think. So
Exactly. Well, now let's talk about what we're gonna be playing after the showcase, but what we are playing. It's what we play in time.
No. It's what we play in time. Time to talk about the games. What we have been playing this week, Peter Austin.
Yep.
What have you been playing this week?
I've been really busy this week, so I've not actually spent that much time playing anything. But I have reached saturation point, which is not a bad thing in the Minecraft world that I've been playing. But I've really enjoyed it, and now I've reached the point where I'm like, okay, I've got like a whole house. I've got all these farms. I've got this like underground tree farm. I built a whole monorail as well. Monorail. And, got a load of diamond stuff. So I've kind of reached that's the good thing about Minecraft introducing a bunch more stuff is that there's a lot more to go at. And, there are bosses and things. For those who don't know, I'm playing like an old build of Minecraft where like it's from when there wasn't a great deal of content because it's really nice and nostalgic. And like, I don't understand modern Minecraft, but I still quite like it as a concept, as a game. So it's difficult to kind of sit down and play it and not know what's going on. So I've been playing this old Minecraft, and I've reached the point where I always used to reach back in the day, where I'm like, that's it. I've done this world. I'm probably going to close it now and never play it again. But that's fine. It plugged a little gap. I've been too busy to dedicate any time to like proper games in air quotes, or games with a story, I should say, probably, because next game for me is probably Star Wars Jedi Survivor, but I've not started that. I've not had the time to do that, so it was nice just to like hop on Minecraft occasionally. I've probably, I think, 3 nights this week I've done a little session, so it served its purpose and it was a lovely nostalgic trip. But I'm now looking forward to this Jedi game that everyone says is really good, except when it's not working.
Yeah, well, there is that. Yeah.
But loads of people I follow online are saying that it's like their favorite Star Wars game of all time, and they think it's really good. So
good luck with it living up to those expectations.
I know.
That's the problem, isn't it?
I'm still going in with very tempered expectations because, as Ben and I have talked about ad nauseum, we weren't huge fans of the first one. But also, I'm glad that like the longer I leave it, the more it's getting patched. Like there was a patch a couple of days ago at time of recording, so hopefully it'll run a little bit better by the time I get around to it. So I think probably this weekend I'll take the plunge.
Lovely.
Yeah. Ashton.
I've also been quite busy this weekend. So the only thing I've played, apart from something that Ben's going to talk about in a minute, is Star Wars Jedi Survivor. And I'm really enjoying it. And I haven't really had that much time to sink into it this week, so I've not explored too much further than I had last week. But I am enjoying it. There's a whole big like set piece section at the end of one of the main missions after you get the green power.
Yes.
And that was very
cool,
exciting, very cool. It felt very, what's the word I'm looking for? Fluid.
Yes.
And I enjoyed it. I thought it was great.
It's rare these days when they do it like a big set piece in games where you don't immediately mess it up and then have to respawn, and it kind of ruins the whole point of it.
It was really hard to mess it up. Even when there was one point where the camera swapped to like a different angle and I had no idea what I was doing. I was just pressing the button.
Still made you feel sick. Though,
Still made you feel, I did feel a bit queasy actually playing that.
Okay. It did make me
but
feel
also
unwell.
like thought it was cool.
Yeah, very cool.
And yeah, I'm just really enjoying it. I've been bouncing back and forth between the planets, seeing all the green bits open and being like, oh, I can explore this place now.
That's how it works.
Metroidvania.
Yeah, exactly. I'm really enjoying it. I think it's great. Cal went through a few outfit changes.
Yeah, what's he wearing now?
He was dressed as a yoga teacher for a bit.
Cool. He got the top knot?
The man bun, and he had the goatee and mustache.
Brilliant.
And then when he left that planet, I turned him, what I called him as Twink Cal, where he was in his chaps and he had like a little vest top on and he had his hair like slicked back and a mustache, and now he's back to the mullet and every time he goes to a different planet I change his outfit.
Right.
And he's back to his like rock star cowboy look now.
Are you finding that negatively impacts the cutscenes at all? Any emotional moments where he's wearing his chaps where you didn't think,
nah,
I've made a wrong decision?
Hey, people in chaps can be emotional.
Yeah.
I'm yet to see it.
No one's died yet, so I've not felt like, oh, this is really a detriment to this emotional moment. Because normally, because so far it's been like a bit uplifting and there's been like nice moments and I've just been like, yes.
I had an Ashton moment the other day where I thought, a kiss. an image of Akis on social media, which I'm a bit
Kiss
annoyed
Kiss.
about.
Cal Kiss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I wasn't like super surprised, but yeah, it was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. But
Thanks for that.
yeah, I'm
Be
enjoying
careful.
it. Yeah,
There
it's
are
so
other
annoying.
cool spoilers that
Right.
you've got to avoid.
Mm.
Both of you, actually, I think, judging
Yeah.
by where you are in the game. So I shall say no more.
I've muted everything online, so hopefully I won't
Right
see
idea.
it.
Right idea.
Mm.
Is that
That's
the
all I've been
That's
playing
the
this
game?
week.
I've played flipping loads because I had a friend over at the weekend and we just played loads of like nonsense together, and that was pretty fun. But the main thing I've been playing is Star Wars Jedi Survivor, which I finished and got the platinum on Monday. I did it.
Do you have to do all of the? Do you have to get everything to platinum in?
No. No,
Okay.
there's one sneaky trophy that really annoyed me. It's a hidden trophy as well, which is to buy all the items from a shop,
Right.
from a specific shop. And wouldn't you know, what that actually means is collect all of the currency related to that
Yeah.
shop. So you do actually have to collect all of one of the things, but I didn't actually have to use a guide for too many. Like there were a couple where it was really unclear, which is, super helpful. And the solution was pretty simple in the end. But that was the last thing I needed to do, was just go around and collect all these bloody priorite shards.
Oh, yeah.
Just in case people are looking for them, there's a few on one of the other planets. The internet will tell you which of the other planets, but only a
There's-
few. So
There was a bit that I was doing last night that I almost turned the game off in frustration.
Ooh, okay.
Because you have to basically wall run from pillar to pillar, and you don't feel that high up. But if you fall off the pillar, you die, and you have to go down a big slide and bounce from pillar to pillar again, and you have to move the camera and jump and also do other things. And I was getting I turned off full damage because I was like, I'm not gonna die. Because when you fall and you hit the ground, if you die from falling, it takes a chunk of your health off
you
when
can
you
turn that
respawn.
off.
That's what I've done.
I turned that off before I even
'Cause I
started
was
the game
like,
because I felt that was unfair.
Yeah, that
because the
seems a
first
bit-
game, there's a lot of trial and error platforming.
Well,
I was like, I don't want to be
exactly.
punished for that.
That's
so,
what. There was also one bit where there was some pipes you have to walk along, and the pipes don't seem to quite line up correctly. So Cal just kept yeeting himself into the abyss, and I was like, if you don't stop this, Cal, we'll have a problem.
It's got really quiet. In
Yeah,
there.
it
What was
has.
that?
I don't know.
It was like a
Scared.
fan or something,
Yeah.
just some ambient building
Kind of
noise
a
that's
brown
just stopped.
noise.
Yeah.
Oh,
Who knows?
it's weirdly quiet in here now.
Yeah, there's been a few bits where it's been a bit wonky, but for the most part, the platforming is fine.
Yeah. I definitely, as I said last week, brute forced some of the solutions to puzzles
I think I did that in the first game a couple of times.
before I had the relevant powers to do them, just forcing my way up onto ledges and stuff. But yeah, I think it's a phenomenal game. Really, really impressed despite the bugs. I can't say the latest patch really made it all that much more stable, but they patched it since I finished it. And now I have no reason to go back to it. But
It's definitely not as juddery as it was before.
Oh, really?
I've noticed there's sometimes when it was coming out of certain movements, there'd be quite a lot of frame rate judderiness, but now it's not there anymore. So that's nice.
I loved it. Thought it was great. Definitely going to be in contendership for the top 5 games of the year, I think, come the end of the year, because it was really, really good. And now, despite the other games that I've played briefly, I'm not really sure what's next for me. I'm going on holiday next week, and I think I'm going to play Zelda when I'm on holiday on the Switch. But I can't really... I mean, you're the expert of games what are coming out. I can't really think what the next big one is.
There's not any huge ones this month. You got Diablo 4 the beginning of next month, and a few. There's quite a lot of indie games next month, but no huge releases. Suicide Squad was supposed to come out next month, but obviously it's now not.
Yes.
And there's bits and pieces, like a couple of Switch games and stuff that are coming out next month. There is a bunch of stuff that I think looks really interesting, but none of it is a huge drop. But also, there's loads and loads of showcases and stuff next month, so I'm sure there'll be a lot more coming out in the following months.
Here's
so.
Hi-Fi Rush 2.
Yeah.
We've just dropped it on
It's
you.
ready.
It'll be nice to have a bit of quiet time in terms of big releases to catch up on some stuff we've missed. I've still not played Chia, and I'd really like to.
Yeah. So June's your month to do that.
Well, apart from that, I've also played a little bit more Pokemon Gold. Got a couple more of those gym badges. I played FIFA 23 because I'm a lad.
Yeah.
And I took Northampton Town FC to the Champions League final.
Whoa.
And then won.
Whoa.
And that was so hard because the way that FIFA works out if your team's not rated very highly, the way that FIFA then executes upon that is that your players act as if they've never seen a ball before in their entire lives. So they'll like trip over, they'll like do full power shots where they'll just pass it along the ground to the goalkeeper. They'll run at 4 or 5 miles per hour when they're trying to defend. Like there's the way that the game punishes crap teams and crap players is like that's just not how it would play out in real life. Yeah, it's a very video game.
It doesn't
way
make
of
them
lowering
better;
the
it makes you worse.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's if you saw Northampton Town FC in real life, I'm sure they're world beaters, and they would maybe struggle against the likes of Liverpool, for example. However, they wouldn't struggle to the extent where they fall over the ball all the time.
Yeah.
It was like running through treacle most of the time. It was a real challenge, but a hard-fought victory. We did it. I played some Chivalry 2, which is on PS Plus this week. Not for me. It seems you spawn, stab valiantly at a couple of people, get clobbered by 6 knights all charging in from the same direction, and then you have to wait to respawn, and you do it again. You're alive longer when you're sprinting to the battle than you are actually in combat. And I know some people are very good at that game. I am not, but I didn't find it very fun. So
I played the first one a lot, and I got to enjoy it a lot. But it can be pretty hardcore. I don't know what the second one's like, but I imagine very similar.
Yeah, I mean, I was doing more dying than I was fighting, and that was not a huge amount of fun. So I started that up, and then that's enough of that. And I played Warhammer Vermintide 2, which is there's a sequel for that coming out that I think we saw at a summer game fest or one of Jeff's big conferences. It's a 40k version.
It looks like the Left 4 Dead style thing.
Yeah, it's like a 4-player co-op game, and we were like, oh, this actually looks pretty good. This is the prequel to that, and it's also pretty flipping good. I had fun, played it in co-op. It does look a bit like Left 4 Dead in terms of how it's presented, in that you load into these levels and you start at the beginning and then fight your way to the end, and there's usually some kind of weird objective or boss on your way, but then when you do that, you go back to a hub area and you can upgrade your character, different classes. It's all fully voice acted, and I thought it was pretty good fun actually, and that was all voiced by people doing the accents actually being from that country.
Love that.
Unlike Chivalry 2, where the flippin' tutorial had this man speaking like a strangled English, Australian, Irish, American accent, and it was clear that they had no clue what they were doing. And it's so it was like nails on a chalkboard for me, and it just does my head in. Like, how hard is it? Just to hire someone from that country to do it, because I guarantee no matter how good you think you are at that accent, and people who've heard us do strangled Australian accents before will confirm this.
Yeah.
You're not as good as someone who's from there.
No.
And it can't be that hard to hire someone from...
Even if you're in America, it's almost guaranteed a British person in America.
There's probably one
a
nearby.
few of them.
Or you just contact them and get them to record it remotely. Like there are facilities in the UK to get something professionally recorded and sent across.
Yeah.
It's not, it can't be that hard. But yeah, that was like, oh my God, this is awful. How could they not hear how bad this is? Anyway, that's Chivalry 2. The main thing, however, the big thing from this week is that we had a viewing party on Friday night, last Friday, for Mia and the Dragon Princess, brand new Wales Interactive game. Thank you to Wales Interactive for sending us a code for that. Per ASA guidelines, because we were sent a code, we have to therefore classify this section as an ad. However, there was no financial compensation. We were just sent a code. We're covering our asses by saying that because the ASA has recently changed their guidelines. Thank you to Wales Interactive for sending us a code. What did you guys think of Mia and the Dragon Princess?
I mean, as with all Wales Interactive games, I loved every second of it. But one thing that I will say about these games, no matter how cheesy and how wonky sometimes it feels, there's no game like it that can get a room full of people to gasp in unison.
Yeah.
Like, my God, there was actual moments where we thought, oh no, we're going to die. And the whole room was like, and then we were fine and it was great. But we did 2 playthroughs. We had like one playthrough where we managed to kill everyone, and then the second playthrough where we've actually figured out what was going on. Yeah. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great.
I did. I forgot that Paul McGann was in it until he just sort of turned up. Well, in fact, you saw him on like the splash screen, but I was like, oh, it's him. It's Doctor Who.
Paul McGann frequently featured in the first playthrough, but in the second playthrough, we barely saw him at all.
He just appeared in a blazer and like fleece.
All right, guys.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Yeah.
It
That's
was
all
sort of
we
in the
saw.
final act as part of the, the big face-off, but it was like, if we already knew who he was because we played it before, but you would be like, who's this man? He's not been here for the first 2/3 of the game.
Yeah.
There were some incredible moments, like absolute. You cannot believe how far over the shark they jumped.
I mean, literally.
There was
They
some.
jumped the shark.
A man got thrown by a shark.
It was sort of oscillated between, like all good Wales Interactive games, like take me seriously. This is a serious thing, and also a man dying and saying delete my browser history.
Yeah, his
or
last
something.
words as he's covered in like nails or something.
It was.
Oh yeah, he had a bunch of holes in him, didn't he?
It's so good.
Yeah.
We don't want to spoil anything, but like this is, I think, the best game Wales Interactive have
It's
ever
so
made.
good.
And if Wales Interactive want like a quote from TripleJump, should we try and like construct one now so that they can like put it on the game? Wales Interactive at its brilliant best.
That is a good one.
Yeah.
Let's we're brainstorming and come up with something.
We do about this specific game.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Mira and the Dragon Princess is
an adventure like no other. That's a good one.
That's
right?
a good one.
That's a good one.
Okay.
Paul McGann is
transcendent.
Yeah. Unbelievable scale. Because I was impressed by, again, I don't want to spoil anything, but like in our first run, it all kind of took place in the same location, and it was all just kind of, you could just see the way it was all done. Then in the second one, we ended up like somewhere else on location, and I was like, what is this for Wales Interactive? And like the sort of pseudo CG like moments that they'd done, and I was like, okay, right, fine, it's not just like a bunch of people in a house that they've hired for the day to film in or whatever. So
the art style of the opening cutscene was pretty cool as well.
They did a whole animated bit.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Oh man,
it's honestly, I think, the best FMV game I've ever played.
So good.
Not just from like how it's, because it's an FMV game, you know how it's going to play. It plays exactly the same as every other FMV game, but in terms of like sheer campiness and just, I was putting it on before you got, because we had like basically all of TripleJump came over to mine to play it, and we all got drunk, and there was like loads of beige oven food available on the table, and we all crowded around the TV to watch this game. Beforehand, I was thinking, oh man, like I feel sort of responsible, for like how this evening goes.
It was never going to be bad.
It could be crap. And also I looked it up, like a playthrough on YouTube, which had already been posted, was like an hour long. And I thought, that's not very long. Like, are people going to be engaged? And it started off kind of slow, like you would expect. But literally there was, as Ashton said, like a big gasp reaction, like, what the hell? Like, we pressed the share button and rewound to like watch certain bits.
Yeah.
Like there was one of those maybe every 10 or 15 minutes at least. It far exceeded my expectations.
Some of the methods that they had as well to like produce certain effects were pretty entertaining. Like you would just see that like clearly something was a flat image that had been like motion tracked onto a 3D scene. Like there would be like piles of viscera, but it was definitely just like viscera.jpg that had been just tracked through the camera motion.
Still loved it though.
So good. Like it was just so good. I can't recommend it enough. If you're going to play any of them, play that one. Play that one.
Play it with friends. And if you like to partake in laughter juice
and narcotics,
have a few laughter juices, slut juices,
yeah, absolutely.
But thank you for sending that to us, Wales Interactive. You really made our night. It was really amazing.
You really did. It was incredible.
Time for question 2 now.
Yes.
Comes from Michael Milan. Video game auteur American McGee has recently left the industry after an unsuccessful bid for a third Alice game fell on deaf ears at EA. He has instead moved to the family business of plush rabbits representing various neurodivergencies. They're actually delightful. If your favourite video game creator went into a completely different career, what do you hope that they would do?
Sad to hear about American McGee. From my brief research, it doesn't look like he's released a game for quite a while.
Yeah.
A lot of projects cancelled, but he's worked on lots of huge games in the past.
Yeah.
And he has been credited, I think, on the re-releases of Doom and Doom 2 and Quake and stuff. But I'm not sure if he was actively involved in those remasters and re-releases, or if it's just because he worked on them originally.
Right.
So now he's having a great time making bunny rabbits.
I've got the link. It's printed in a really unhelpful color.
Yeah, that's a
that I
good
can't
color,
see.
isn't
So
it?
it's mysterious.americanmcgee.com. McGee spelled MCGEE. And they're really cool, actually. I had a look at them. There's flipping loads of them. There's like Pride plushy rabbits as well and all sorts. So they're worth checking out. They look cool. Peter,
Yeah.
you've got developers that you like, that you're best mates with.
Yeah, I have. Well, this actually happened with one who I hope is not too controversial to mention. Nothing, I think, was ever kind of done about the allegations made, but flipping, what's his name? Michel Ancel.
Oh, yeah.
Was apparently part of the sort of toxic work culture at Ubisoft. No, I don't think any kind of like sexual harassment allegations were made against him. There were others at the time being made about other people, but for him it was just, I say just, that it wasn't a nice environment to work in. There was a lot of crunch and so on and so forth. But he is the man behind Beyond Good and Evil, but also things like Rayman and Peter Jackson's King Kong, which is quite a good game. He left the industry a couple of years ago in the middle of the Beyond Good and Evil prequel development to go and set up a wildlife sanctuary.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah. He was working at the time as well with, are they called Black Sheep or Wild Sheep Studios, who were making Wild.
Are they still making Wild?
It's never officially been cancelled.
When was that? Gamescom 2014,
Yeah, it
maybe?
looked really good, and it looked like they'd actually, I mean, it was clearly just a vertical slice, but it looked like it was, kind
Chia.
of working. And yeah,
It was Chia,
It was
basically.
Chia. You could like possess animals and like go around as like a snake or a sheep or a bear or whatever. It looked really good. And then I think about a year or so ago, they added like one image to their official website, and it was like, oh, is this still happening? No, it's not still happening. But anyway, he went to start a wildlife sanctuary, so he did it, and I'm very happy for him, assuming he's not a bad man, and I don't know if he is or not. But I would like to see Joseph Fares just become like a public speaker.
Yep.
Just do like TED Talks.
Yep.
You could do anything.
Yeah.
You put your mind to.
Just swearing constantly. Yeah, that's what I want to see. So Fares, get to TED. I know they don't have like permanent speakers at TED Talks, but they should do. They should.
You
have
should do
Joseph
one of
Fares.
those like life. They have those like how to fix your life workshops.
Yeah.
Where a bunch of like middle-aged people read a book and then they go and get someone to speak.
Seminar. Yeah.
Seminars. That's
Yeah.
thank you. I think you should do those.
I just
Yeah.
want his brother to be involved because I love his name so much. Fares.
Yeah.
I know it's really good.
So
I mean, I like
Such
the
a
name
good
American McGee.
Yeah.
Shakira.
Yeah.
Fares. Ashton.
Yes.
What have you got?
Thank you, Ben.
Matthews.
I mean, Randy Pitchford should obviously go off and embrace his magical
His magic career.
Become a
magical career.
magician.
Yeah.
and or maybe design some shirts.
I thought that's what you were going to lead with. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go design.
I think he should become a magician and disappear.
Oh, blimey.
Very good. But I think Jeff Keighley, he didn't create video games, but he technically is a creator in the video game space, so
Yeah.
it counts. I think he's got big school teacher energy, and I think that if he quit, he would like go and teach like primary school.
Okay.
Because
He'd be very popular as
he'd be
well.
very popular as well. He'd have his t-shirt and his blazer combo on. I think he'd be really good at it.
Yeah.
When I look at him, I think that man was destined to be a school teacher, but accidentally fell into video games. It's just
Well, I can
his
see
face.
that.
Also, I think Hideo Kojima, I think he should start a new life as either a like movie YouTuber, because he just loves watching movies. Whenever I go on his Twitter, he's like, I'm watching Mario in IMAX today. And I was like, good for you, babe. Love that for you. Also, I think he'd be a good painter. I think like he's got the energy to be a painter.
He
I
does
think.
look like the kind of person that would wear a turtleneck and walk around an art gallery.
with his
Yeah.
arms behind his back. and
Those
be like,
glasses,
With
and
glasses,
his
yeah.
smart hair and neat beard.
He'd be like, this
work,
is my brain fart painting. Whatever is
Hideo Kojima's brain fart.
Hideo Kojima's brain
farts.
farts. Yeah. I think he'd be a great painter. He's just got, I think, the energy,
Yeah.
the stillness of a
You're right.
painter.
He's a very quiet man.
Yeah. I mean, maybe he's not, but I don't speak Japanese.
This
so.
is the very first strand painting that's been done.
Oh God.
What's that mean?
We're
Yeah.
gonna have a second Strand game soon.
We are,
It's
yeah.
gonna happen.
Oh,
Whatever
that means.
Yeah. Well, I won't play it this time. I learned my lesson. I'll just be quiet. Just let people enjoy their boring game.
Yeah.
Oh no, I was loud again. I've got a few here. One of them is, I mean, a couple of them actually are based on what these developers were originally inspired by. And I just think, what if they went and did that? Like Hidetaka Miyazaki, he's done with Soulsborne games. He's going to write Choose Your Own Adventure books.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'd love a Miyazaki scripted Choose Your Own Adventure book.
Oh my God. A
It's just
Miyazaki
full of you
scripted
died.
FMV game.
Yeah.
Oh, see,
Wales
that would be
Interactive.
very good. That would be good. How about Satoshi Tajiri, the creator of Pokemon, who was originally inspired by bug collecting as a child? What if he made some sort of like bug collecting activity set for children and like did a documentary series about bugs and the places you can find them and so on?
Yeah.
That would be good for him. I hope he enjoys that.
Bugs and where to find them
Yeah, by Satoshi Tajiri.
under rocks.
And finally, I've also written Hideo Kojima should make a film. That's it. Because
Yeah, he loves
he's
films
been
so
making
much.
He's been
Imagine
making
how weird it would
movies
be.
for
weird.
years. I can't believe he hasn't done it yet. With all his mates, with Guillermo and stuff.
Yeah.
He needs to go make a movie. Why hasn't he done it yet? I mean, some would argue that he's already done it like several times over in all the Metal Gear Solid games, but you know, make a movie, Hideo.
Starring Norman Reedus.
Yeah.
And I want
and
the credits
Elle
to
Fanning.
all read Hideo Kojima.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. all the
Directed
way down.
by all of the art's done by him because he's
All
a
of the
painter.
arts, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think because he's so subversive in video games and he was kind of one of the first people to make movie-like games that he would be the first person to make a game-like movie? And
Oh,
like you would
goodness.
sit down to his film thinking he will be able to do this because he's been making, as you say, he's been making films in the
There's
gaming
6 hours
industry.
of walking across the
You would
field.
sit down and it's not actually a film because that's how weird he is. And he's like, no, it's not actually a movie.
At one point, a big choice comes up on the screen, and you have to leave and go into another screen
Yeah.
Yeah.
to see the outcome of the movie. If you go that way, I don't care what it would be. I would watch it. Hideo, get on
Make
it.
a movie.
Do it.
It's time for something a little bizarre, something a little peculiar. Perhaps it's called.
It's called Weird News.
It's weird news time. Time for some weird video game news. Remember, if you want to submit some weird video game news to us, you can do by posting under the post of the post on Facebook and Twitter. And we may pick it and give you a shout out here. If you want to guarantee a shout out, though, you need to go to patreon.com/Team TripleJump, support us at a certain tier, and become a podcast producer just like
Just like Nathan,
GY Goliath.
Nicole Hansen.
Duncan Wilson,
Katie Garrett / Jared.
You have mixed it up, haven't you?
Yeah.
And now it's thrown you off. Ellie Nicholas,
Nexus Polaris,
Melody Elbonet.
Blake Thomas.
and Gabrielle Philippink.
I think I was just excited about mixing it up that I forgot that I had to speak again.
Thank you, podcast producers.
Thank you,
Thank you,
podcast
podcast
producers.
producers.
Peter, what's your weird news?
I've got a weird news here that was submitted by Peter Austin.
Oh.
Who's that guy?
Yeah.
Sounds like he's weird.
Well, wait till you hear how weird he is. He's been reading PCGamer.com.
Okay.
Nerd.
Politically correct gamer.
Yep.
Gross.
Woke Gamer.
Go,
Not
bro, go,
suds.
bro.
The US Navy is training sea lions and dolphins to play video games.
Finally.
Sick.
At last.
Finally.
This is written by Rich Stanton. Subheading, no word on the Navy SEALs. it's sea lions.
That's another
That's-
animal noise.
that's how they speak.
what
Yeah.
used to noise.
A new press release from the US Navy arrives with the rather eye-catching headline, "The Navy's sea lions love video games."
Do they or do they love treats?
They have
Yeah.
Navy sea lions. The sea
Yeah.
lions are owned
They've
by
been
the
doing
Navy.
this for decades. They train dolphins and stuff to go and find mines and crap like that.
Then
Do
blow
like
up.
espionage and stuff.
Do espionage.
Yeah, they do. These strap
What did you see? Ah!
They strap microphones to dolphins and send them off. Do you hear about those dogs that were trained in Russia? This is years ago, like decades ago. The idea was that they were going to put a bomb on the dog, right?
Right, okay.
And they trained the dog to run under a tank so that they could send it off after enemy tanks.
Right.
Unfortunately,
And then they blow the dog
they
up.
had to train them on Russian tanks. So
They only
the
blew up
dog
Russians.
learned. So that is what happened.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just imagining a dolphin in a tuxedo. It keeps making me laugh.
Yeah.
Playing poker. Yeah. The contents of the article certainly deliver, focusing on a sea lion nicknamed Spike, who's apparently, quote, the most avid gamer in a sea pen floating in the San Diego Bay.
Wow.
Spike likes fish,
Yeah.
napping, and playing a game system designed by Navy scientists to train marine mammals.
But why?
The Navy is very proud of Spike because although he was the last of 3 male sea lions to learn how to play these video games, he was the first to complete the full training program. He learned to understand the concept of controlling a cursor on screen and was then gradually put through a series of more challenging games with plenty of fishy rewards along the way.
Do you reckon he gets really annoyed that he has to wait so long for the sequel? And
Well,
it's
wait
full of-
until you,
full
they,
of
they do
bugs?
all sorts of commentary on this.
Do they? Okay.
This apparently marks the first recorded success in testing cognition of Californian sea lions with animal-controlled interface. The gamer sea lions are a project run by the US Navy Marine Mammal Program, which also has gamer bottlenose dolphins, as well as training the mammals to perform various tasks the organization believes the games as well as training the mammals to perform various tasks, the organization believes the games offer cognitive enrichment and essentially keep the animals happier and healthier. So that's why, Ashton, apparently.
Okay. Cool.
One of the games described is a simple maze game where Spike has to manipulate the cursor to the exit. The Navy press release describes it thus, and it's basically just...
Is it one
a
of those
maze.
spooky ones
It's
when
like
you
the
get to
spooky
the end, the
one,
woman
yeah.
just...
It's like, it looks a lot like that, actually, but it's just bigger. There's a picture of the sea lion playing the game.
Great.
Here's another... Oh, will it load?
What is this? Just the weirdest
There he is.
thing.
Yeah.
He's cute.
He looks very polite.
And look how happy he is.
Oh, I did
roaring
it.
in
Yeah.
approval.
There will be a link to this article in the...
It's some of my
description.
favourite weird news you've ever had.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
So the article continues, and there's no line break here. It says, okay, but what's this Elden Ring build? Quote, I really care about these animals and the lives they lead, says Kelly Winship. I love the idea, because there's no line break there, that they actually ask. So what's this Elden... And
Yeah.
she's like, look, this is a serious
We really care
experiment.
about them.
We really
okay?
care about them. Stop asking me stupid questions. I love all the cool stuff we can look at with this research, but at the end of the day, I want to see them happy and enjoying themselves, she says. And then
We
if I
want to
just
see them play Elden Ring.
skip through to... There is a bit that's worth...
I like the
mentioning
idea that
before
she
we-
was like, they won't enjoy themselves if they play Elden Ring.
Yeah.
I want to see them happy, not sad.
Over time, Spike and his... This is a quote. Over time, Spike and his friends could switch directions when the cursor bumped up against a wall. They could complete levels at an average clip of 6 seconds and win in fewer than 7 button presses, says the Navy, sounding a bit like a proud dad. They also built an automatic feeder that linked to the system, but after early trials, discovered that the sea lions preferred sessions where trainers fed and encouraged them.
Oh.
My heart is breaking at this story. The research possibilities with this are endless, said Kelly Winship. We built a game where we can compete against Spike. He can chase us around and we can move away. He hasn't seen it yet. He's going to be really excited.
Excellent.
And then let me just say this bit as well. The Navy has also built an Eve system for bottlenose that's the name of the game system, for bottlenose dolphins, which has a large projector screen visible from the water with joysticks that the dolphins manipulate with their mouths in the water. The sessions take place after sunset, so there's no sunlight interfering with the projector. And apparently it looks like an eerie pier-side movie night, with the Navy adding the detail that it could be a TV night because the dolphins like watching SpongeBob SquarePants. They like watching
yeah.
it.
Nobody likes
I don't think there are any. Are there any
SpongeBob.
dolphin characters in SpongeBob SquarePants?
No,
I can't think of
only
any.
fish.
There's
I
that
think.
whale.
Yeah, there's a whale. That's the closest.
Pearl.
Yeah.
Pearl, yeah.
And then just with what you were saying, Ben, they say here, apparently the main difference with marine mammals and humans when it comes to video games is the animals show delight when they win, but don't get frustrated when they lose. Quote from Kelly Winship, you don't really get a sea lion scoffing and throwing the controller down.
Oh,
Very good.
They would if they had hands, though, wouldn't they?
Yeah, they would.
Let's be honest.
Yeah.
So there we go. What a lovely story.
That is
Amazing.
really good.
That's very good.
Now to bring the tone down.
Oh, brilliant.
I have one. It was submitted by @IDanWilson and @BenJimable from Games Radar. Plus, by Austin Wood. Starfield's terrible sex dialogue has me seeing stars too. Seeing
But out of
stars.
interest, what's Starfall? Am I just combining Starfield and Redfall?
Yeah.
Is that what I did earlier?
I guess
meant
so.
to ask. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Woo, that was amazing. Was it though? Is the subheading? Starfield apparently doesn't show full-blown sex scenes, but that hasn't stopped Bethesda
Cowards.
from including some amazingly
Cowards.
cheesy pillow talk.
Woke game.
So
Go woke, go bro.
I'm so sick of this woke culture, man.
PC nonsense.
Show full
Boobs.
Alien boobs.
peen is what I was going to say.
Robo-peen.
Where is it?
The ESRB's
I know you
newly
got it.
released Starfield rating has complicated what was thought to be a closed discussion on sex in Starfield. After all, the Australian rating board flatly observed that it had no sexual content. Well, it turns out Starfield does at least have post-sexual content in the form of suggested material in the dialogue, including conversations had after sharing a bed with characters. Incredibly, a few lines were offered as examples in the rating blurb. Here are the examples that you may find after having had sexual relations.
Yes.
Life is a sexually transmitted disease that is 100% fatal.
Good.
I'm all for getting a little wild, but next time let's try it without the jetpacks.
Oh, even better.
Talk about seeing stars. Woo, that was amazing.
Now, I don't know about you guys, but I have said each of those lines.
Me too,
Yeah.
yeah.
Within the last month.
I'm
Yeah.
sick of the jetpack coming out all the time. It's like, no, please.
Can we do it without the
can we just
jetpack?
leave the jetpack?
I was joking
I want
before,
some
but now
vanilla-
I really actually
Yeah.
just quite
Vanilla
like to.
sometimes. I don't want to be floating in space.
Do you remember that Fallout game we played on?
Yeah, Brotherhood of Steel.
Brotherhood of Steel, where
Weirdest.
we had sex. We were a ghoul and we had sex with a prostitute, and
And
then
she kept saying,
she said
"Ugh,
something like, "Ugh, I
disgusting."
think something fell off," or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yep.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
And that wasn't Bethesda.
No,
No.
Obsidian, like, they don't care. They'll like Fallout New Vegas had like what's he called, Mr. Fisto, the robot that you could sleep with, and I think that was it. I don't think there was anything in Fallout 4. There may have been. I might be confused, but yeah, it is cowardly. I think it's cowardly.
I
Put
think
it in.
so
It's
too.
an adult game anyway. These people are gonna be having mad sex all the time,
Yeah.
especially in the post-apocalypse. Come
What else is there to do?
on. Drugs,
Yeah,
because those are in there.
yeah,
But sex is too scary.
yeah.
Can't have that. Sorry, Ashton, carry on.
I will. I'm particularly struck by the second line, not so much because it proposes the possibility of jetpack sex, probably not the case, but also probably not very safe, but because if it's not about jetpack sex, where were these characters discussing that it deserved to be sandwiched between these two other lines? Also, if that first line isn't on a shirt a hot topic already, it will be very soon. The presence of this kind of dialogue in Bethesda's RPG also raises questions about its structure. For instance, does the pillow talk follow a branching format like normal quest conversations? Are there skill checks? That is to say, will your partner storm out of the room in a huff, sheets clutched at their waist if you fail a pillow talk skills check while trying to be cute and witty? Will Starfield Direct address these things? Probably not. Damn it all.
Damn it all.
Yeah.
Well, we'll find out.
Apparently, Starfield also has in-game purchases, but that doesn't necessarily mean microtransactions.
Okay.
They put that as a little tidbit under an advert, so we didn't see it.
Yeah.
Sneaky buggers.
This weird news comes courtesy of Cameron Keywood on Twitter. The website is Go Nintendo, and this is written by Jay Maldonado. It's a follow-up to a weird news story that we've done before.
Oh.
Now, you may remember that we talked about the person who bought some, what are they called? Vintage Nintendo playing cards. And I think they were both ruined by like flood damage or something. They were both water damaged, and they were all like clumped together and ruined, basically. So here we are. We previously reported on an unfortunate incident where collector Eric Voskuil's newly purchased 1950s Nintendo cards were fused together beyond repair. Well, thanks to the Voskuil's story going public, the collector was approached by two independent individuals who offered to sell him their packs in pristine condition. Here's a quote. Within months after posting the story online, I was offered 2 decks by 2 different people, both from the United States. They approached me separately after reading about these cards on this blog. Both decks were purchased and now in Voskil's possession. He has posted high-quality images of the cards to his blog, where he goes into more detail on the purchase of the cards and the historical significance they hold for Nintendo. Check out the link below if you're in for a history lesson.
Oh.
So he got it. He got his cards. He got his
cards.
cards in the end. The general public came to came to his defense, and he did have to buy them again, but
Yeah.
at least he's now got them in his collection.
They
They
read
didn't
the
say
article
you can
and they
have
were
them for
like,
free.
"Oh, I can
Yeah.
make some money here."
I heard you wanted some cards and yours got ruined.
I've
What are
got
you
some.
buying, stranger?
It's going to be double the price though, because I know how desperate you are.
Yeah.
Yes, I know what I've got.
Yes.
I know what I've got. Well, there we are. That's weird news. It's time to move on to the big discussion. Big discussion time. This week's big discussion comes courtesy of Nikki P, who says, "Hey Bap, there's been a bit of discourse on recent leaks on Tears of the Kingdom by Kotaku and their assertions of being blacklisted by Nintendo for early release codes, etc., and some backlash on a tweet from Luke Plunkett on the blacklisting issue. What's your take on this? Is blacklisting media outlets appropriate? What's the point of leaking? Hugs and kisses. Chris's, sorry, it says. Hugs and Chris's." So yeah, this is a story that broke sort of at the beginning of the week, I would say.
Yeah.
And it's very unfortunate because it definitely implicates our boy Luke Plunkett, who we
Chief of
often
Weird
source
News.
For weird news.
Yeah,
But
the tweet was tasteless.
the tweet was tasteless.
Yeah.
And I will describe it shortly because I've got a big old write-up here from Yahoo Sports because it was difficult to find a sort of reputable outlet that was covering the blacklisting issue that wasn't sort of agenda-filled. So here we are. Kotaku is facing backlash from social media users and gamers for publishing an article that reveals leaked details regarding Nintendo's anticipated game, The Legend of Muller. Points for the Kingdom.
United.
On May the 2nd, the website published an article titled Everything We're Learning About Zelda Tears of the Kingdom from the Leaks. The article, written by Zach Gack, it says, which isn't correct, I've checked, it's Ethan Gack.
Well, I was going to say,
of course, we've quoted before.
I saw it elsewhere reported as Zach Gack
That's
as well.
not right. They're confusing Zach Sveisen and Ethan Gack.
Right,
They've
because for a
combined
minute I
them.
was like, oh, is there another Gack now? Is there some
A second
nepotism
Gack.
going on?
No, it's the Gack man.
At least they've both got away with it. You know,
Yeah.
no one's being implicated because this guy doesn't exist.
Yeah.
We've got to take down Zach Gack. Where is he? The article written by Ethan Gack came after he took to his...
Sorry, I've just noticed. Zach Gack and Ethan Sveisen.
That would be amazing.
Come on.
Come on, let's focus up here. It's important. Came after he took to his personal Twitter account on April the 26th to express his disappointment in Nintendo for having blacklisted Kotaku. Here's a quote. "It's preview day for Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, a huge game I would love for Kotaku to be able to inform its millions of readers about firsthand. Unfortunately, Nintendo still has it blacklisted from advanced coverage, a move I would argue is both unprofessional and coercive," Gack tweeted.
Do you think maybe Zach and Ethan got married?
Oh, that would be beautiful, wouldn't
They
it?
could
And he is
yeah.
now Zach Gack.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they could be, hang on, they could be Zach Gack Sveisen
Yeah.
and
Ethan
Sveisen Gack.
Ethan Sveisen Gack.
Yeah.
Jesus, it's so hard. Last week, Nintendo held a preview event for the upcoming game wherein many media outlets were able to attend. However, Kotaku was not invited to the event for having been blacklisted for previous coverage on Nintendo games. Although it is unclear when or why the website was specifically blacklisted, gamers and social media users point to numerous articles published by Kotaku, which is known to post leaks and insider information in the past that were alleged to have damaged Nintendo's business. One article that became notably problematic for Nintendo was Metroid Dread is already running great on Switch emulators, which was published just days after the game Metroid Dread was released in October 2021. The article shared where and how users could access the emulators, potentially allowing readers to illegally play the game for free, which was in turn regarded as an insult by many fans. Hey, real quick, if you are a Nintendo lawyer or employee, just don't read this. It was a silly mistake. Ignore this blog. You can go now. Okay, everyone else, ... writer Zach Sveisen starts before ending his article with, Nintendo, like most game publishers, is really bad about maintaining access to their past games outside of the few big sellers. Thank God for pirates, emulators, modders, and hackers. It has since been updated to remove those lines after Sveisen was widely criticized. Last week, Kotaku's senior writer Luke Plunkett sparked backlash by tweeting a historic World War II photo in defense of a colleague who leaked details about The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom amid being blacklisted by Nintendo. Very normal behavior, Plunkett replied to a person who wrote, "You complain about Nintendo blacklisting you, then post spoilers based on leaks. Who is being unprofessional here?" I am years past caring what these people say. I am simply aghast at the fanatical fervour with which it's thrown in 2023, Plunkett added, before concluding his tweets with a photo of US 356th Fighter Squadron Commanding Officer Lieutenant Colonel James H. Howard. In the photo, Howard sits in an aircraft emblazoned with victory markings, Japanese and Nazi Germany flags, and represent confirmed kills against both Nazi Germany and Imperial Japan. Nintendo is a Japanese company that is headquartered in Kyoto. For the record, he wrote, "This is how I feel about publisher blacklists." The tweet has since sparked accusations of insensitivity and racism, with many social media users mocking Kotaku's grievances against Nintendo's decision to blacklist them.
He's deleted the tweets now as well.
Oh, bloody hell. Right, so that's the basic gist. So I should start off by saying that that Kotaku has a history of doing this anyway.
Yeah.
They were previously blacklisted in 2015 by Ubisoft for leaking stuff about or posting screenshots and leaked information about Assassin's Creed Syndicate, and by Bethesda for publishing information about Fallout 4 before that was officially revealed, I think, in 2013. So they've been through this before. And this one, I understood it based on from when I heard about it. I understood that they had been blacklisted because of the article that they posted about the leaks, but actually they were blacklisted before then.
And I think the leaks were a little bit of a little
posting about the leaks in such
you.
in such a brazen fashion, almost felt like they were thumbing their nose at Nintendo.
Yeah.
Like, no, you've blacklisted us, so we're going to post about all the leaks and spoilers.
Yeah, seemingly there's no actual confirmation anywhere as to exactly why they were blacklisted in the first place. But as that article says, it's likely to do with, for example, the Metroid emulation article and other things like it. I'm not sure how I feel about it. I don't think, I don't approve of like an article where it just says, here's how to pirate this video game that came out a few days ago.
Especially not from a publication like Kotaku. Like
No.
they'll find blogs, but most of the time they're smaller. They don't have the same
Or Reddit
reader
or
base.
something
Yeah.
is where you go for that.
There's
stuff.
no reason to be doing an article about that, and there's no excuse for it. I think in terms of covering leaks that you're not responsible for. So say someone had got in touch with them and said, "Hey, here's this information. I want to like sell you this story," and they published it. That I think is problematic. I think if the leaks are already out there and they're not responsible for the leaks themselves, then I don't know quite how I feel about punishing someone for covering that, because it's, in a sense, it's not their fault. If they've already signed various kind of agreements and NDAs for, if they're going to be given early access to a game, then it's probably in breach of that in its own way to be, doing leaked information, even if they weren't doing the leaks in the first place. But I don't quite know where I sit on that. But ultimately, I think it's Nintendo's choice who they invite to their events. And if they've got a reason, such as here's how to pirate a Nintendo game being an article on Kotaku, then I don't really have a big problem with Nintendo having made that decision. I don't always agree with everything Nintendo does when it comes to video games journalism and media, and they are quite notorious, or at least were notorious for a very long time, for making it difficult for people to post footage legitimately, like trying to do commentary and transformative content and stuff. We've had issues before getting matched with trailer content. Yeah. So they don't always make the right calls, but I think their decision to leave Kotaku out on this occasion it's up to them, and I think it's easy to justify it. I can see the argument both ways, but I'm not against it really.
Before I answer the question, should I tell you what the community had to say?
Yes, please.
Do. Yeah,
We'd love to. You posted this, didn't you, on the YouTube community tab?
I did, and if you want to share your opinions, we'll be doing that going forward. So have a
check it
look.
out on a Wednesday. There'll be a post there, and we'll check it on a Thursday morning.
I had to put my waders on and go through the comments because there was like over 200,
wow.
and some of them a little bit nasty,
colourful?
weren't they?
Bit colourful,
They're
bit blue.
Rude. A bit rude, but I've got a few here. And this one comes from Cam. Nintendo and other big publishers may suck on so many levels, but at the end of the day, they have a right to keep their products under wraps, and they have a right to cut the ties with outlets who go against that. Senator Cthulhu said, talking about games leaking but not going too much into detail is fair enough. Publishing huge articles about a game from leaks that But publishing huge articles about a game from the leaks you've read is worthy of a blacklist. In Kotaku's case, published an article in The Guide on how to download a Switch emulator and play Metroid Dread for free, so they absolutely deserve it. Kotaku, Mike Wicked said Kotaku owed Nintendo nothing. This was newsworthy. Any news publishers worth their salt and not beholden to legally binding agreements, would have published it. It was also done with respect for their readers by warning that spoilers were contained within. So if you didn't want to be spoiled, you could stop reading. I applaud Kotaku. And then someone said, in a vacuum, I think the outlets should be able to cover things like leaks if they are out there without having fear of the big giant corporations coming down on them. It does depend on how things are covered exactly, of course. If you're going to cover leaks, and you should probably mention up front that these are leaks and not official information. Plus, you should leave spoiler-like content out of things like titles, thumbnails, and other things that could be seen by people who aren't deep diving into content. I did say that people should be able to cover leaks that are already out there. Leaking yourself and spoiling is not cool. In this age of dystopian levels of corporate power, it's important to maintain the rights and freedoms of normal people and smaller entities, and for them not to face absurd backlash simply for using their free speech. And then Sade says, in an ideal world, all gaming press would be blacklisted. The special relationship between publishers and press just leads to press having to toe the line and carefully avoid publishing obvious truths because most can't afford to have the preferential access to previews and early review copies taken away. But that's bad for all of us. Who knows how many journalism sites conveniently never dared break stories about Activision Blizzard harassment scandal just because their bottom line demands that they get COD a week before release.
Yeah, maybe so.
All of which are things that I think are fair enough from both sides of the argument there. Like they were saying, I don't think a gaming news outlet commenting on news about leaks is bad. I think that potentially they were egged on to do it more because they didn't get access to this early review stuff. I think that, we've seen sometimes that if we don't get something and someone else does, there's a little bit of jealousy, a little bit of spite that you get in your goolies, and you feel a bit like
I've got spiteful ghoulies.
I've got spiteful ghoulies, and you feel like sometimes maybe you take the next time, you maybe not the most egregious to these companies. However, when it comes to something like the emulating stuff, that's where I think Kotaku lose their argument in terms of we shouldn't be blacklisted just for posting about stuff because what you posted about was essentially illegal. So fair enough that they've cut you off. But I do also think that the community bring up a good point of like, well, how much are outlets allowed to say with this fear of being blacklisted and taken off the early review stuff? We wouldn't know because we're not really on any of them. But sometimes there is that obligation that you feel if you've been sent a code or if you've been given a copy of a game to kind of not cover all of the bad things. You still talk about them, but you don't want to ruin that relationship immediately by saying this game's crap, you shouldn't play it, because you want kind of these access, because content nowadays is old very, very quickly, and if you haven't got these content early, then you are losing out on clicks and views and stuff. But I do feel like Kotaku shot themselves a little bit in the foot with the leaking stuff after they'd already been kind of dodgy relationship with Nintendo. But like we say, we don't know when this happened, or maybe this was a new thing. But I do think that the only reason this is news is because Luke Plunkett tweeted that. If he hadn't have tweeted that tweet, no one would be talking about it, because we wouldn't necessarily be like, okay, well, people don't get codes all the time. People don't get early access to things all the time. It doesn't really mean that much. Sorry, you didn't, but that's on you. If Luke Plunkett hadn't put that honestly tasteless and terrible tweet up, I think no one would really discuss whether Kotaku was rightly or wrongly blacklisted by Nintendo. It's all because of that tweet. Is the only reason anyone is talking about it, I think.
I strongly believe that Kotaku and any media outlet can post about whatever they want. However, there are consequences that come with that. And they know from past experience that you will be blacklisted for posting leaks and especially encouraging people to undertake illegal behavior with hacking and so on. There's clearly been a fraught relationship with Nintendo for a while, but they should still be allowed to post these leaks. Like, they're out there, they're breaking it. It's almost like a journalistic duty to do it. I'm never going to read them. That is of no interest to me, but I don't hold it against them for doing that. I wouldn't get cross at them for doing that. Most websites do play it safe, and they say, hey, Zelda leaks are out there. Be careful. We're not going to link to it here. We're not going to talk about it here. We're not even going to link to it here. But like, it's happened. So they're still going to get clicks that way.
The same thing happened with GTA 6 when all of that stuff was kind of hacked and released on the internet. A lot of the articles that we were looking at the time were like, it's out there. It involves pictures of potential gameplay and so on and so forth. But most places did not post it. If you wanted to find it, you had to go looking for it.
Because lots of places were being struck with takedown notices and stuff like that because the leaks were real. To an extent, I do like appreciate Kotaku for like just going for it and posting that stuff because no one else was going to do it. And I think a lot of people are wrong in thinking that outlets aren't posting this stuff because they respect people's wishes to not see leaks and spoilers and stuff. It's absolutely because they're protecting their ass. Like that's the only reason. If they thought
it's a great story.
If they thought they could get clicks, they would publish it. They don't care about whether or not you want to see spoilers ultimately. So Kotaku's done it, and they were already blacklisted, it seems.
The bridge was already burned.
The bridge was already burned. And I think the real issue that I take with this is that Kotaku just look childish and they look really stupid. There's a lot of...
It's embarrassing for them.
It's really embarrassing. There's lots of anti-Kotaku sentiment out there. There always has been. There's always been a subsect of the gaming audience that really don't like Kotaku for various reasons. And this almost feels like them throwing their toys out of their pram by publishing such a blatant story about the leaks, and then Ethan or Zach or whoever it is posting like a tweet saying, hey, you know what, Flip Nintendo would love to tell you about this game, but we're not invited. Anyway, here's all of the leaks. Like that feels like a direct retaliation. That feels really childish. And then Luke's been a complete tit. And so to the audience that already hates them, that confirms their bias already. To everyone else, it's like, oh man, Kotaku's really gone down in my estimation.
It's changed my mental image of them. Like I used to just picture, I mean, I didn't make a habit of literally picturing it, but if you just asked me, what do you think that they're like? I would just kind of have the same image in my head as I have of Eurogamer or even IGN, or, you know, it's just an office with video game interested people in it.
And they can say Flip.
Yeah.
They post a lot of weird news.
Slightly edgier and slightly more kind of kooky, but, you know, it's just an office of journalists. Now, in the wake of this, all I can see in my head are like a bunch of angry boys
who
are just
want to
like
play Zelda and are not allowed.
Having a tantrum like publicly. And it's just unprofessional.
Yeah.
The reaction is the unprofessional thing more than, you know, the covering the leaks and even the emulation article. I think like probably the worst thing they could have done is what they've done in terms of their reaction.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. They're well within their rights to publish this stuff, and I really do believe that. And I think more places would publish it if they weren't so scared of repercussions. But they have to deal with those repercussions. They know what they are. They've got past experience with them, and it's their reaction that I think is the silly thing here.
I do think that, like, obviously every publisher and every developer reserves their right to give their codes and give their game to people who they think deserve it. However, I do think that the sphere and the energy of like, we can't say anything bad about, for example, Nintendo, because if we do that, Nintendo won't give us the game next time we want it. I do think that is kind of a sad like reality for a lot of these places, because like you say, someone in the community said, how many people knew about the stuff at Activision Blizzard but refused to comment it until it was broken by a bigger, an actual news outlet, because they worried that, we'll never get COD again if we upset them, which is obviously like, like I say, fair enough that they reserve their right. However, with a sphere like this where there's so much that should be talked about, things that are happening, then how much of it is just being ignored because, if we do that, they'll be upset with us and then they won't give us the game next.
It's so cutthroat. A lot of people, a lot of outlets don't have the luxury, it seems, to be able to take swings like that, because it just endangers their entire bottom line, which I think speaks to a more profound issue with how games journalism even functions, and the relationship between the press and the developers and publishers. But regardless, talking about Luke's tweet for a second, which is how I learned about this whole sorry saga.
Me too.
I want to give him the benefit of the doubt. I don't agree with what he posted, but I also don't believe that he intended it as it was received.
Yeah, I think it's gone worse than he...
I think it's hugely tone deaf, and it's a tweet that anyone could take a look at before he sent it and said, don't post that.
Yeah.
There's a million ways that could be read, and it's not going to be the ones that you intended to
We
be.
sat down after this tweet, me and my partner.
My point, Nori.
We sat down and I was like, this is what I thought. How I read the tweet, and he was like, oh, I didn't get that at all. Like in my mind, like I was referencing like, well, he's talking about killing the Japanese. That's the main energy of the tweet. That's why I think people are the most upset. And then Ben was like, oh, I didn't get that. I thought it was like they're collecting marks of people that they've been blacklisted by us. Well, that is what it says.
That's what he intended.
However,
you implicate anything to do with World War II, and it's just going to draw really unflattering comparisons.
It had swastikas on it.
Oh yeah, because it was the marks of they've shot down. But yeah.
So he was implying that he was like, he probably saw that photo. But he probably saw that photo as like a positive thing. Like, like we've taken down the baddies.
The enemies.
But it's still got swastikas on it. And regardless, that's going to be a really risky thing to post.
And it's still about killing Japanese people when you're talking about a Japanese publisher.
That's the thing. It's gone wrong for two reasons. If it didn't have the swastikas, it would still be bad because it looks like you're saying, killed another Japanese person, or I hate the Japanese. And if it didn't have the Japanese things, it's still got swastikas on it. So like you might not make as much of a direct link with Nintendo, a Japanese company, but maybe don't really ever post a photo with a swastika on it on the internet unless you're like a history channel talking about World War II specifically.
Without being too #woke.
Whoa. Hang on now. You've got to settle down because if you're even a little bit woke, I am walking out that door.
I'm leaving the room.
I'm getting out of here.
Well, what I was going to say is, as a white man, you have to be careful what you post on the internet nowadays.
Yes.
You know, everyone does, but specifically as a white man, you should definitely be thinking twice about what you're posting.
He's a seasoned games journalist. He should know better. And a seasoned social media user as well. Like he should have known better. There's an article that Kotaku posted in 2015 during the Bethesda Ubisoft stuff, which was I think it was published by their then editor-in-chief in defense of like them being blacklisted and saying, basically saying the stuff that we've already said about freedom of the press and like we should be able to post about this stuff without fear of retribution. Like we're going to, if you don't like it, then sorry, but we're going to continue doing that because that's what we feel is right. And I don't know if they've done a similar thing in the wake of all this, but it certainly seems to everyone that the reaction from their staff members is akin to babies throwing their toys out of the pram. Like it seems really childish. And while I support them for having posted the leaks, because I think they should be allowed to, the way they've gone about it just feels unnecessarily like combative. Like they want to pick a fight. Like they're trying to pick a fight. And I don't think they've got anybody on their side.
No. People always talk about Kotaku being woke, but honestly, those tweets and the energy is like, did not make me want to work for Kotaku. It was like real laddie, kind of like weird energy. And that to me is like the opposite of woke. Is that laddie energy. So I was like, everyone was confusing me in the YouTube comments when they were calling Kotaku woke because I was like, why?
Because it's just a label that applies to anything you don't like, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's just a very easy fits all label. Regardless, though, it's a bit of a crappy situation, and hopefully, and I do mean this, I hope Kotaku will be fine without being able to cover Zelda in a timely fashion. But those are the risks. Those are just inherently the risks involved with publishing that kind of content. We will, of course, bring you Zelda coverage next week.
A whole week late. You're welcome.
I believe we are on the line for a code from Nintendo, but it will be release day, which is the day after we record the podcast. So we will tell you our thoughts next week, and we sincerely hope you all flipping love it when it comes out. It's out now. You're probably listening to this while you're running around picking up your seeds and swinging your tree branches. Oh, it's broken. The tree branch is broken. Get another tree branch
Make
now.
some soup.
Build yourself a little raft and float off across the river and stuff. Hope you're having a great time.
There's a chance that Nintendo won't give us the code because tomorrow we're doing a video on how to pirate Metroids.
We are. All of them.
Yeah.
All the Metroids.
Yeah.
No, we do actually have a Zelda video out this week that you should
we do.
definitely go and watch.
do.
And we'll tell you about that momentarily. But of course, let us know what you thought of what we discussed here today in the comments below. Try to keep it clean. We know you won't, but I'm trying. We're asking
To be fair,
politely.
video comments are much more polite than community post comments.
Yeah, community posts really
It's
reaches
crazy.
some,
It's like the Wild West out there. Whenever I post,
reaches
I'm
some
like,
feral people out
I'm
there.
scared.
Hundreds of replies.
Anyway,
Good.
Peter, where are people on the internet? Where are we on the internet?
We're on the internet at youtube.com and twitch.tv/Team TripleJump. It's where all of our content goes out. Videos on YouTube and live streams on Twitch. When we're streaming on Twitch, we're modded by Lobrotovich, Trolling Badger, and Mr. Black. And if you've got Amazon Prime, speaking of Twitch, you can get a Twitch sub for absolutely free. If you're already paying for Prime, it's in that bundle already, so you can just use it on us.
And it's well worth doing because we're exclusively streaming on Twitch currently. So, come hang out.
Yeah. Twitter.com and Facebook.com/Team TripleJump for video and live stream announcements, legacy video content, Twitch stream highlights of the week, bits of weird news, all sorts of things put there by Fraser and our lovely selves as well. TikTok.com/@Team TripleJump, all sorts of things put there by just the lovely Ashton Matthews, apparently. And Patreon.com/Team TripleJump is our Patreon with various tiers, lots of different things there. Have a look at them and see if you would like to be a patron.
Were you saying apparently lovely or
apparently stuff is going on there? I don't use TikTok.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
They take me longer to make than other things.
Okay.
Sometimes there's stuff on there.
I didn't mean apparently lovely. No.
That's why I was trying to figure out the energy.
Stuff is apparently going on there, but I'm no talker. I'm no talk head.
Yeah, we're trusting Ashton Matthews, resident talk head, to post talks.
I've deleted the account. It's not there anymore.
Have you not?
I banned.
You got rid of it.
Yeah.
It's gone.
God's sake! You posted the Nintendo leaks.
Yeah, I did. Lol. Anyway, we have a website. It's triplejU.mp. Spells jump. It's very clever. And if you want to join Discord, go to triplej.mup/Discord and chat with our wonderful community. On there, we're modded by Jack, Joe, Tori, and Hollow Eyes. And I tell you to do something, gotta go do it. All right? Bunch of weirdos, bunch of nerds. If you want to listen to the podcast in its audio forms, why not go to triplej.mup/podcast and check out any of our live stream VODs, go to triplej.mup/VODs. To book any of us or James Jenkins for a cameo, go to triplej.mup/cameo. And if you want to buy some sick and cool merch like this jacket, then go to TripleJumpShop.com and make sure you're following @TripleJumpShop on Twitter for the latest merch announcements.
Absolutely. Why not follow Ashton and Peter on Instagram and Twitter @thatPeterAustin and @ScrambledAshton, and myself just on Twitter @confused_dude. We do lists every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, streams every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Thursday being the joint stream.
Blaze it.
On Twitch. Everything else being on Twitch. Worst Games Ever is fortnightly, Friday for patrons of a certain tier, Sunday for everyone else. Weirdest Games is monthly, a week early for patrons. The After Dark podcast is fortnightly on Monday for patrons. We're recording one right after this. The podcast is every Saturday. We do shows all the bloody time. Come check them out. Why not leave a 5-star review on your platform of choice? It helps something to do with Al Gore's rhythms, and we'd really appreciate it.
Wow,
Thank you.
That's a lot of reallys.
That's how much we'd appreciate it. What's out on the channel this week?
A bloody main menu.
Oh,
Delicious. Simmered fruit, is it called?
It's spicy simmered fruit from Legend of Zelda, the first one.
It's bad.
Breath of the Wild.
It's
but
bad.
We're hoping it's in Tears of the
Yeah.
Kingdom. We had to take an educated guess.
Yeah.
Ashton and I hated it more than Ben did.
Yeah.
Oh, I hated it. I just didn't think
You
it was
hated
as
it.
bad.
But you
but-
were acting like you did. You were acting like we were being crazy for how we reacted.
I said
but
it reminded me of like vomit, like
Yeah.
bile, and you said no, absolutely not.
It wasn't that bad.
sick after a jowl phrasey.
Stop
Yeah,
it.
that's what it was.
Stop it.
It's out now on the channel, so you can check that one out.
Please watch it.
It came out yesterday.
Please,
so
if you don't watch it, we'll stop making it.
no.
Remember last time when the
please
table
watch
fell?
it.
What a show.
Yeah.
Main menu's great.
We
Watch
like
it.
this show. There'll be another one in 2 months.
Yeah.
So get watching this one. Watch it over and over again until the next one comes out.
Yes.
Also something else this weekend, Peter?
Worst Games Ever, Fusion Frenzy. Fusion spelt with a Z. You've put it with an S.
Oh, that's how it was spelt on the document.
Well, that's wrong. It's Fusion Frenzy. Yeah, that was kind of bad, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was rubbish. I
Yeah.
hated it. That video's, and it's really good. It's a good video, isn't it, Peter?
Yeah, it's a great video.
It's a great video.
Yeah, edited by Alex Winters. I've not actually watched it yet, but he handed it to me today. I'm sure it's great.
I'm sure it's great too.
I'm sure it's great.
Go check it out tomorrow and yesterday if you're a patron. Ashton?
Yeah?
Just enough time to talk about this week's sponsor, please.
Of course. It's, of course, the Nintendo X Eurovision crossover to make up for them killing the Queen.
Oh my God.
They did do that,
It's
confirmed.
The Legend of Muller. Points for the Kingdom. United.
Brilliant. Have a good weekend, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.